Beneath the ground you are standing on right now, there are worlds. Not metaphors, not geological curiosities, entire worlds, cities carved 18 stories into solid rock. Caverns so large, they have their own weather systems. Tunnels dug by hand that stretch for hundreds of kilometers. And caves sealed for so long that the life inside them evolved without ever knowing the sun existed. Most people live their entire lives on the surface and never think about what is below. But beneath our feet there are places so vast, so strange, and so impossible that even the scientists who discovered them could not believe what they were looking at. This is our countdown of the 10 most unbelievable underground worlds on Earth. Stay until the end because number 1 is a city buried 18 stories beneath a Turkey that held 20,000 people. And no one knows exactly who built it or why. Before we start, drop a comment telling us where you are watching from and what time it is right now. We want to see how many countries this video reaches. Number 10, ghost subway stations, New York, London, Berlin. Beneath the busiest cities on Earth, there are train stations where no one gets on and no one gets off. Platforms where the lights still work, but no passengers have stood in decades. Tunnels where trains pass through without stopping. And if you press your face to the window at the right moment, you catch a 2-second glimpse of a place frozen in time. In New York City, directly beneath City Hall, there is a station that was sealed in 1945. The platform is curved. The ceiling is covered in original Guastavino tile vaults and stained glass skylights. Brass chandeliers hang from arches. It was designed to be the showpiece of the entire subway system. Today, the 6th train loops through it without stopping. Passengers who stay on past the last stop can see the station through the windows for a few seconds before the train curves back uptown. Most of them have no idea what they're looking at. In London, over 40 stations have been closed and sealed since the Underground opened in 1863. Some were shut during the Second World War and converted into bomb shelters, command centers, and secret government facilities. Aldwych Station closed in 1994 and has been used as a film set ever since. Down Street Station was converted into a bunker where Winston Churchill held war cabinet meetings while bombs fell on the city above. In Berlin, the Cold War created something even stranger. When the wall divided the city, several subway lines that ran between east and west were severed. Trains from West Berlin continued to pass through stations in the east, but they were not allowed to stop. Armed guards stood on the dimly lit platforms, watching the western trains glide past in silence. Passengers on those trains looked out at ghost stations where no one had exited or entered in years. The stations were sealed, unlit, and frozen in time until the wall fell in 1989. Beneath every major city, there is a second city that most people will never see. Platforms built for crowds that never came. Stations designed for a future that went a different direction. And in each one, the architecture, the tiles, the signs remain exactly as they were on the last day anyone used them. Number 9. Cu Chi Tunnels, Vietnam. During the Vietnam War, American forces controlled the skies, the roads, and much of the surface. They had helicopters, tanks, napalm, and every technological advantage a superpower could bring. But beneath their feet, an entire military infrastructure was operating in total secrecy. The Cu Chi Tunnel network, located northwest of Saigon, stretched for over 250 kilometers. Every meter was dug by hand using basic tools, no machinery, no explosives, just human labor carried out mostly at night to avoid detection. Inside those tunnels, the Viet Cong built a functioning underground world. Hospitals with operating rooms, kitchens designed to disperse smoke through multiple vents so it would not be visible from the air. Dormitories, ammunition storage, meeting rooms where commanders planned operations while American patrols walked directly above them. The tunnels were designed for Vietnamese body sizes. Many passages were barely 60 centimeters wide and even shorter in height. American soldiers who attempted to enter, known as tunnel rats, had to crawl on their stomachs through pitch-black corridors rigged with traps, sharpened bamboo stakes hidden in false floors, tripwires connected to grenades, scorpions and venomous snakes deliberately placed at junctions. Many tunnel rats did not come back. The network had multiple levels. 3 tiers of tunnels stacked on top of each other, connected by trapdoors disguised so well that soldiers could walk directly over an entrance and never know it was there. After the war, portions of the tunnel system were preserved and open to tourists. But the majority of the network has never been fully explored. Collapsed sections, flooded passages, and undetonated ordnance make large portions too dangerous to enter. Somewhere beneath the Vietnamese countryside, there are tunnels that no one has walked through since the 1970s, sealed exactly as they were left. Number 8. Coober Pedy, Australia. In the South Australian outback, roughly 850 kilometers north of Adelaide, there is a town where most of the population lives underground. Not because of war, not because of secrecy, because the surface is uninhabitable. Summer temperatures in Coober Pedy regularly exceed 50 degrees C. The landscape is flat, treeless, and baked to a pale white that reflects the sun into your eyes from every direction. There is almost no rainfall. The wind carries dust that coats everything it touches. In 1915, opal was discovered here. Miners arrived and quickly realized that the same holes they were digging for opal made excellent homes. The underground temperature stays constant year-round, between 23 and 25 degrees C, regardless of what is happening on the surface. Cool in summer, warm in winter. No air conditioning required. Today, roughly 60% of Coober Pedy's population lives in underground homes called dugouts. These are not primitive caves. They are fully finished residences with bedrooms, music kitchens, living rooms, and modern plumbing. Some are luxurious with high ceilings, carved archways, and pools. The town has underground churches, an underground bookstore, an underground bar, and an underground hotel where tourists can sleep inside the rock. There is also an underground golf course. It has no grass. Players tee off on oiled sand and carry a small piece of turf with them to use as a portable fairway. Games are played at night under floodlights because daytime temperatures make the surface lethal. From above, Coober Pedy looks almost abandoned. A few scattered structures in an endless white desert. The real town is beneath your feet, and the people who live there will tell you the same thing. Once you go underground, the surface stops making sense. Number 7. Cenotes of Yucatan, Mexico. Beneath the flat dry jungle of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, there is a hidden network of flooded caves and underground rivers so vast that no one has mapped it completely. The entry points are called cenotes, sinkholes where the limestone ceiling of an underground cavern collapsed, revealing pools of crystalline water that drop straight down into the darkness below. More than 6,000 cenotes have been identified across the peninsula. Some are open pits, exposed to the sky, surrounded by jungle. Others are partially covered with roots from surface trees hanging down into the water like fingers reaching for something they cannot touch. A few are completely enclosed, accessible only through narrow cracks in the rock that open into enormous submerged chambers. The ancient Maya believed cenotes were sacred portals to Xibalba, the underworld. They performed rituals at their edges. They threw offerings into the water, gold, jade, pottery, and sometimes people. Archaeologists have recovered human remains from the bottom of cenotes, along with artifacts dating back thousands of years. Modern cave divers have explored portions of the underground river systems that connect the cenotes. Some of these systems stretch for over 300 kilometers, making them among the longest underwater cave networks on Earth. The water is so clear that visibility can exceed 100 meters. Divers describe the experience as flying through an underground cathedral with stalactites and stalagmites forming columns and chambers that have never been touched by daylight. But the cenotes are not forgiving. The tunnels branch, narrow and twist. Silt on the floor, when disturbed, can reduce visibility to zero in seconds. Divers who lose their guideline in a zero visibility passage have no reference point and no way to find the exit. Multiple experienced cave divers have died in the cenotes. Their bodies, in some cases, were never recovered. The Maya called them gateways to the underworld. Modern divers who have been inside say that description is not far off. Number 6. Eisriesenwelt, Austria. Inside the Hochkogel mountain in the Austrian Alps, there is a cave made entirely of ice. Not a cave with some ice in it. A cave where every surface, every wall, every ceiling, every floor is covered in thick sculpted ice formations that have been building for thousands of years. Eisriesenwelt means World of the Ice Giants. The name is not an exaggeration. The cave stretches for over 42 kilometers into the mountain, making it the largest ice cave on Earth. The entrance alone is a wall of ice 20 millimeters high that greets visitors like a frozen gate. Inside, the temperature stays below freezing year-round. Wind flows through the cave system constantly, driven by the difference in air pressure between the entrance and the deeper chambers. This wind is what creates the ice. Moisture in the air freezes on contact with the cold rock surfaces, building up layer by layer over centuries into formations that look like frozen waterfalls, crystalline curtains, and towering pillars of blue-white ice. The deepest accessible chamber is called the Ice Palace. Formations here reach heights of several stories. When light hits them, they glow in shades of blue and white that do not look natural. They look engineered, as if someone designed each formation and placed it precisely for maximum visual effect. The cave was first explored in 1879, but was largely ignored for decades because the entrance was difficult to reach and the conditions inside were brutal. Today, guided tours take visitors through the first kilometer of the cave during summer months. The rest remains largely unexplored, sealed behind ice formations that are still actively growing. 42 kilometers of ice cathedral inside a mountain, still growing, still changing, and most of it has never been seen by human eyes. We are halfway through, and the underground worlds ahead are even more extraordinary. If you are still watching, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next one. And tell us in the comments which underground world has shocked you the most so far. Last time we had viewers from over 40 countries. Let us see if we can beat that. Number 5. Wieliczka Salt Mine, Poland. 30 minutes south of Krakow, there is a mine that has been in continuous operation for over 700 years. It descends 327 meters beneath the surface across 9 levels. Over 245 kilometers of tunnels have been carved through solid salt. That alone would be impressive. But what the miners built inside those tunnels is something else entirely. Beginning in the 17th century, miners started carving chapels into the salt walls. Not small shrines, full-size music chapels with altars, columns, religious sculptures, and bas-reliefs depicting biblical scenes. All carved from salt. Music, every surface, every detail, every chandelier. The Chapel of St. Kinga, the largest underground chapel in the world, sits over 100 meters below the surface. It is 54 meters long, 18 meters wide and 12 meters high. The floor is polished salt. The walls are carved salt. The chandeliers are made from salt crystals dissolved in water and recrystallized into translucent pendants that catch the light like glass. There are over 40 chapels throughout the mine. There are underground lakes where the water is so saturated with salt that it reflects the ceiling like a mirror. There are carved staircases, grand hallways, and ballrooms where events are still held today. Music. The miners who created these spaces did it by hand, working by candlelight hundreds of meters underground over a period of centuries. Each generation added to what the previous one had built. The result is not a mine. It is an underground civilization's worth of art, architecture, and devotion, built entirely from the material they were extracting. UNESCO designated Wieliczka World Heritage Site in 1978. It was one of the first 12 sites in the world to receive that status. Over 1 million visitors descend into it every year, and every one of them says the same thing when they step into the Chapel of St. Kinga. This cannot be real. Number 4. Hang Son Doong, Vietnam. In 1991, a farmer named Ho Khan was walking through the jungle in central Vietnam when he heard something strange. Wind being pulled into a hole in the side of a limestone cliff. The opening was half hidden by vegetation. A steep drop inside made it impossible to explore. He noted the location and moved on. He could not find it again for 18 years. In 2009, a British caving expedition convinced Ho Khan to guide them back. What they found inside would be confirmed as the largest known cave passage in the world. The main chamber of Hang Son Doong is over 5 kilometers long. In its largest section, it is 200 meters tall and 150 meters wide. You could fit an entire city block of 40-story buildings inside it. A Boeing 747 could fly through the main passage without touching the walls or ceiling. In 2 places, the cave ceiling collapsed thousands of years ago, creating openings called dolines that let sunlight stream into the cavern. Beneath these openings, entire jungles have grown inside the cave, trees reaching nearly 30 meters tall, their own cloud systems forming in the humid air. Fog drifting through the chamber like weather happening underground. The cave contains a fast-flowing river that runs its entire length, underground lakes with water so clear it appears to have no surface, and cave pearls the size of baseballs that took hundreds of thousands of years to form. The Vietnamese government limits access to roughly 1,000 visitors per year. Each expedition costs several $1,000s and requires a multi-day trek through the jungle and the cave system with professional guides. The restrictions exist because the ecosystem inside is so fragile that heavy foot traffic could destroy formations that predate human civilization. The people of Phongnia province still find it difficult to accept that the largest cave on Earth was beneath their feet for their entire lives, hidden behind a crack in a cliff that one farmer heard wind blowing into. Number 3. Catacombs of Paris, France. Beneath the cafes, the boulevards, and the tourist crowds of Paris, there are 300 kilometers of tunnels. Most of them are unmapped. Many of them are illegal to enter, and a section of them is lined with the bones of 6 million people. The Paris catacombs began as limestone quarries. For centuries, the stone that built the city was extracted from directly beneath it, leaving behind a maze of tunnels that spread under almost every arrondissement. By the 18th century, the city's cemeteries were overflowing. Disease was spreading. The government decided to move the dead underground. Starting in 1786, bones were exhumed from cemeteries across Paris and transported into the tunnels at night in covered wagons by torchlight. The remains of 6 million people were arranged along the walls of the ossuary in decorative patterns, skulls stacked in rows, femurs arranged in crosses, tibias forming geometric borders. The workers who placed the bones treated it as both a practical task and an artistic one. The public ossuary stretches for about 2 kilometers and is open to tourists, but it represents a tiny fraction of the total network. The remaining tunnels, known as the carrieres, are officially off-limits. Entering them is illegal and carries a fine. This has not stopped anyone. An entire underground subculture exists in the catacombs. People called cataphiles have been exploring, mapping and gathering in the illegal sections for decades. They throw parties in underground chambers. They create art on the walls. They know routes through the tunnels that do not appear on any official map. In 2004, a police conducting a training exercise in a previously unexplored section discovered something that no one expected: a fully equipped underground cinema, seats, a screen, a projection system, a bar stocked with bottles, a professionally installed electrical system, and a phone line. When investigators returned 3 days later to trace the phone line and identify whoever had built it, everything was gone. The equipment, the seats, the screen, all removed. In their place was a single note on the floor. It read, "Do not try to find us." To this day, no one knows who built the cinema, how they powered it, or how they removed everything in 72 hours without being detected. The catacombs kept their secret as they have for over 200 years. Number 2. Naica Crystal Cave, Mexico. On 980 feet beneath the Chihuahuan Desert near the town of Naica, in northern Mexico, miners drilling a new tunnel in the year 2000 broke through into a cavern that had been sealed for approximately 500,000 years. What they found inside looked like the interior of another planet. Selenite crystals, some measuring 39 feet long and 13 feet wide, jutted from the walls, ceiling, and floor in every direction. The largest weighed an estimated 55 tons. These were not decorative stones. They were geological structures larger than school buses, translucent, glowing faintly in the light of the miners' headlamps. The crystals grew over hundreds of thousands of years in water heated to approximately 136 degrees Fahrenheit by magma deep below. The conditions were so stable for so long that the crystals reached dimensions that have never been matched anywhere else on Earth. But the cave is essentially uninhabitable. The air temperature is 136 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity is 99%. Without specialized cooling suits and breathing equipment, a human body begins shutting down within 10 minutes. Researchers who entered described it as standing inside a furnace while trying to breathe underwater. The cave is no longer accessible. After a man broke in, attempting to steal a crystal and died of suffocation, the pumps that had been keeping the cave dry were turned off. The cavern refilled with water. The crystals are now submerged again, continuing to grow in the darkness exactly as they have for the last 500,000 years. No one knows when or if the cave will ever be opened again. The crystals do not care. They were growing before humans existed. They will be growing long after we are gone. Before we reveal number 1, look at the subscribe button. If it is not red yet, fix that and drop a comment telling us which underground world blew your mind the most. We read every single one. Number 1, Derinkuyu, Turkey. And now, the underground world that rewrites everything you think you know about what ancient humans were capable of building. In 1963, a man in the Cappadocia region of central Turkey was renovating his home. He knocked down a wall in his basement and found a passage behind it. The passage led to a room. That room led to another passage. That passage led down. What he had stumbled into was the entrance to a city. Not a small shelter, not a hiding place, a full underground city carved into the volcanic rock, descending 18 stories beneath the surface with a capacity to house 20,000 people. Derinkuyu is the deepest known underground city in the world. It extends approximately 85 meters below the surface. The complex includes living quarters, kitchens, storage rooms, wineries, oil presses, stables for livestock, chapels, schools, and a large meeting hall on the second floor with a barrel-vaulted ceiling. Fresh air was supplied through over 15,000 ventilation shafts, some reaching all the way to the surface, engineered with such precision that air circulated evenly through all 18 levels. A sophisticated water system provided fresh water to every floor through wells that also served as an emergency water supply if the city was sealed, and it was designed to be sealed. Each level could be closed off from the one above it using massive circular stone doors weighing up to 500 kilodolars. These doors could only be operated from the inside. An invading army that breached one level would face another sealed stone door and another 18 stories deep. The city was connected to other underground cities in the region through kilometers of tunnels. Kaimakli, another underground city, is linked to Derinkuyu by a tunnel nearly 8 kilometers long. Across Cappadocia, over 200 underground structures have been identified. Derinkuyu is simply the deepest. Who built it is still debated. The soft volcanic tuff of Cappadocia is relatively easy to carve, and evidence suggests the earliest levels may date back to the 8th century BCE, possibly built by the Phrygians. Early Christians later expanded and used the city extensively, hiding from Roman persecution and later from Arab raids during the Byzantine era. But the engineering raises questions that have never been fully answered. How did they ventilate 18 stories without modern engineering knowledge? How did they carve with such structural precision that the city has survived earthquakes and centuries of geological pressure without collapsing? How did they coordinate the construction of a complex that, if built today, would require architects, engineers, and years of planning? 20,000 people once lived beneath this ground. They had fresh air, clean water, food production, and a defense system that made the city virtually impregnable. They built an entire civilization underground, and then at some point they left. They sealed the doors, walked to the surface, and never went back. The city sat in silence beneath the Turkish countryside for centuries. Farmers built homes on top of it. Generations lived and died without knowing what was below them until one man knocked down a wall in his basement and found a staircase going down. 18 stories down. Those are the 10 most unbelievable underground worlds on Earth. From ghost subway stations frozen in time beneath the world's busiest cities, to a cave full of crystals larger than buses, to an ancient city carved 18 stories into rock by people who left no record of why they built it. Every one of these places is real. Every one of them is beneath the surface right now. And every one of them is proof that the world above ground is only half the story. Which underground world shocked you the most? Tell us in the comments. And if you made it to the end, you already know this channel is for you. Hit subscribe. Turn on notifications. The next video takes you somewhere even more impossible. We will see you there.